Tall, buff, and clean-shaven from his navel to the top of his head, Thor Lobo was the baddest movie badass. Thor had a catchphrase, "Dead guys don't bother me." It's the last spoken line in every one of his 20 movies, and whenever he says it, audiences cheer until they wet themselves. Thor had been at a soundstage in Orlando shooting his latest blockbuster, God Bless My Glock. It's the story of a man long imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit, and now was a flight attendant on a budget airline. The film opens with Thor pantomiming along with the safety presentation, and motioning to the exits with both index fingers when most of the passengers rise up, flash knives, handguns, assault rifles, and shoulder-held grenade launchers, demanding to fly to a North African country that doesn't exist. The only non-terrorists on board are the pilot, co-pilot, Thor, and a 22-year-old supermodel who has given up her career to take care of her ailing grandmother, who is seated next to her in a drunken stupor. "Sit down and fasten your seatbelts!" bellows flight attendant Thor. "Otherwise, no beverage service!" The hijackers pause, obviously weighing their options. Several mention ginger ale. In that instant, Thor springs into action, throwing cans of tomato juice with skull-piercing force, stabbing eyes with a plastic spork, and pulverizing midsections with merciless ramming from the beverage cart. Several actors stumble into the aisle, oozing blood and internal organs. Others make bloody handprints on the windows, as if their last wish is to jump out of the plane at 40,000 feet. All of them groan, cry, and curse the most lethal flight attendant in the sky. Thor stands in the aisle, just behind the toilets, his arms crossed over his chest, surveying the crimson splatters, puddles, and lumps before him. With a look of satisfaction and a nod of self-approval, he throws back his head, clears his throat, and begins delivering the most famous line since "Let There Be Light" and "Have It Your Way." Cut! Great job, everybody. That's it for today. See you tomorrow. Thor, pronouncing "Dead guys don't bother me," had to wait for more cameras, more gore, and more studio executives to cram into the soundstage. With shooting wrapped for the day, Thor headed home. "Orlando's where I get my money," he'd say. "Palm Beach is where I get my coke." Each day, just after midnight, Thor and his bodyguard Moshe, formerly of Sayeret Matkal, Israel's Special Forces, drove the 180 miles in Thor's Porsche 911 Turbo S. The schedule was like clockwork. Clearly, someone had noticed. This night, on a dark stretch of I-95, Thor had been pulled over by what appeared to be cop cars. The doors burst open. Large men dressed in black, guns drawn, and clearly not law enforcement officers marched toward the car. Moshe burst through the passenger side door in a running crouch and opened fire on the guy approaching 20 feet behind. The fake cop was neutralized by 2 shots from Moshe's Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm. Swinging to his left, Moshe fired and felled another gunman. Thor sat frozen behind the wheel. His right hand had opened the leather-covered compartment between the seats and removed a Glock 19. But the gun wasn't of much use, since the movie star was left-handed, and the weapon stayed in his right hand, shaking like a maraca. "Shoot him, Thor!" Moshe shouted as he rolled out of the light and toward the scrubland, where he could fire without being a target. Thor opened the door a few inches. The man approaching from behind let loose with a half-dozen rounds. Bam, 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 bam! One bullet shattered the window in the Porsche's door. One grazed Thor's left wrist, which would have been fragmented had he not worn several Cartier gold and diamond bracelets. One penetrated a speaker for the Burmester sound system. 2 went into the unknown. 1 severed the aorta of the man approaching from the other car, instantly rendering him incapable of criminal teamwork. "Oops!" yelled the gunman, lowering his weapon and looking around absently. "Sorry!" Suddenly, a blood-curdling commotion erupted in the scrubland where Moshe had sought a tactical advantage. "Grrt, grrt, grrt," grunted an obviously angry critter. "Ah!" came a voice that sounded like Moshe's, only in a higher register. "Oh no! Wild boars!" Thor's fierce and fearless bodyguard had gone off the highway just a bit too far, landing amid a litter of wild hogs. His intrusion turned their mom, the sow, into a face-biting, chest-stomping, genital-devouring terror.